couple weeks ago, I made a video about my top 10 books out of 100 books I've listened to. And now I'm going to rank all 100 books I've listened to. So we've got at the top, the pinnacle of literature. Great, good, mid, sure, okay books. I don't regret listening to them. We have the unmemorable books that just completely escaped my memory. Then we have bad. Don't listen to these. And then worse than bad. So let's kick it off with, I've got all these books in the order that I listened to them in. So first up, we're going to start off with She Comes First. I would say this is a good book. If you are someone that has relations with women, definitely read this book. Not everything in the book I thought was new information, but it was all very good, valuable stuff. Then I listened to Ender's Shadow, which I'm going to put in great. Ender's Shadow was a really good listen. This is kind of where I discovered audiobooks and really decided to keep going. Let's see, I started listening to audiobooks because I kind of got bored of podcasts and music at work, so I decided podcasts, or I wanted something longer than a podcast, and I feel like audiobooks offer that. I want a podcast that's 8 hours, and that just doesn't exist except for audiobooks. All right, number 3, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I say this book was kind of mid. The main character I remember being kind of insufferable. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this book, although the other Hunger Games books were pretty enjoyable. Alright. Next up, Divergent. I remember enjoying this book, so I'm going to put it in the good tier. I feel like the real challenge with this tier list is going to be remembering all 100 books. Anyways, next up is Insurgent. I feel like Divergent was kind of the best of the series, so maybe Divergent I put great, and Insurgent I put in good, along with Allegiant. Although, yeah, I don't really remember these books super well, so maybe I would bump them down. I do remember, I might be thinking of a different book series when I'm thinking of these. Anyways, I'll just move on to Ender's Game. I liked it a little bit less than Ender's Shadow, although I also enjoyed it. So I'm gonna put it in good tier. But maybe I feel like maybe I need another tier between these two. Hold on one second. What do we have next? Ready Player One. Obviously I'm putting this in pinnacle of literature. I think all my top 10 books are probably going to go in this category. Ready Player One, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say about it, but if you watched my top 10 books video, it's nothing like the movie, but it's great. Great book. Scanner Darkly, I might put in great. This book is, what is it about? It's about like an undercover agent, and he's like infiltrating these drug dealer or drug related, so he has to take the drug, but the drug ends up making him going crazy. Yeah, I thought the part where he's like going crazy, that part was really good. I feel like there was some boring parts, so maybe I would put it in good. I'll just leave it in great for now. That was it was pretty fun. And I gotta say, I'm listening to all these books while I'm at work and doing stuff, so usually if there's a boring part of the book, I just kind of zone out and don't really pay close attention to it while I'm like doing other things. But anyways, moving on. What do we have next? What is this book? So this is a problem, is I can't really see the cover of the book super well. I do have a folder on my computer with all the books saved somewhere, so let's see if I can find that. Then I'll be able to tell what book it is. Here we go. So this is War of the Worlds. I was honestly expecting more from War of the Worlds because of all the stories of the radio broadcast and people thinking aliens were really invading. But I thought it was enjoyable. I probably went into it with too high expectations, and it was a little bit shorter than I would have liked, but it's going in the good tier. War of the Worlds was enjoyable. And actually, for how old it is, it has some really great depictions of UFOs and stuff. It was pretty fun. So maybe I should bump it up to great. I don't know. Station 11 is going in the great tier. This is a fun book. It's kind of about a band of, what are they? Performers. They're like performing plays for people in the apocalypse. But it kind of jumps around between time periods, like before the apocalypse and after. Did I watch the movie? I feel like, no, there's like a TV show. I didn't watch it. Anyways, awesome book. What do we have next? Murder on the Orient Express. I'm going to put that in the great tier. I liked all the characters in this book feel very unique, individual. I didn't see the mystery solution coming. It was my first Agatha Christie book. I enjoyed it. I would listen to more. All the characters are very captivating. They all had their own personality. Dracula, putting it at the top, obviously. Maybe one of the best books ever. I just liked it. Again, top 10 books list. What is this next book? Awakening. I sort of remember this book. Do I remember enjoying it? I don't remember enjoying it particularly. Although, oh yeah, I remember the ending was like kind of depressing. I'm going to put it in the good tier. I sort of fond memories of this book, although I feel like it was kind of unmemorable. So maybe anyways, I'll just move on. Stephen King, Salem's Lot. This was fun. It was kind of like a modern Dracula. Really long. I appreciate long books. There was some boring parts. Maybe I'll just put it in good. But if you like Dracula, was it based on a true story? Awakenings? Yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you that right now. This is the first, Salem's Lot was the first Stephen King book I listened to. Definitely recommend it, and led me to listen to more Stephen King books in the future. I liked it. House with Good Bones. I'm going to put that in the great tier list. I kind of went through like a few phases as I was listening to books. So here I'm in my horror genre phase. House with Good Bones. That was really fun. It's about, what is it about? A woman who is house sitting? No. I believe the story is her grandmother died and she is going with her mom to the house, and some scary stuff happens at the house. There was some really cool bits at the end. Oh yeah, what I really liked about this book is the first part of the book is all like very normal, and like a few little mysterious things are happening, and then somewhere towards the end of the book, the final act, it transitions to full horror, and I like that a lot. There was a lot of setup. What do we have next? Lord of the Flies. Honestly, pinnacle of literature. I enjoyed it a lot, but I wish it was longer. Maybe I'll just move it down to great. Maybe I'll move House of Good Bones up, honestly. It was a little weird. It's staying in great. Lord of the Flies was really fun. Kids get stranded on an island, and they go full savage mode pretty quickly. It's a classic, I'm sure. People have heard of it. World War Z, pinnacle of literature, top of the list. I forgot to mention in my top 10 books video, it's jumping around to all these different characters, but it is following a journalist who's like interviewing all these people. That's pretty fun. Dune. Dune is the book I listened to next. I'm going to put it down. This is controversial. Bad. I didn't enjoy Dune. Some people do. That's awesome. Just not for me. Call of Cthulhu. This was a fun book. I also expected it to be longer, but it had some fun elements that I just wasn't aware of would be in this story. If it was longer, I might move it up, but it was kind of just a fun, quick read. And I did read all these books with my ears. Hyde is fun. I thought it was kind of, this one's also in the horror genre. Hyde is kind of like a modern take on the Minotaur, or like, I don't even know. That's kind of it. There's like some kids and they're stuck in an abandoned theme park, and there's some kind of monster. Anyways, Lighthouse Witches, top of the list. It was really fun, really captivating all the way through. Talked about it in top 10 books list. Bellwood's Game. Good. I enjoyed it, but maybe it's for kids. It's a horror book. It's about kids playing a game in the woods, and there's like ghosts. It's whatever. Harry Potter. Good. Second Harry Potter. Good. What is this one? Prisoner of Azkaban. I'm gonna put great. Harry Potter's fun. I listened to them all back to back, so I got pretty burnt out on Harry Potter, but definitely think the third one is the best from the ones I listened to. honestly, the first two very similar to the movies, so maybe that's why I didn't enjoy them that much, because I've already seen the movies and they don't really offer very much in terms of differences. But really well written. I bet, like, reading these back in the day when they came out and not reading them back to back might be more enjoyable, because they the way they reference things that already happened is really good, but it kind of like covers everything, if that makes any sense. Lord of the Rings trilogy, putting it all top of the list. Talked about this in my top 10 books list, so I'm not going to get too far into it. I just like how much detail there is. What's this next one? Gotta check my list of where I can see the books better. On Writing. This was pretty much the first nonfiction book I listened to. I'm going to put it in great. On Writing. It offers some of Stephen King's personal life and just kind of his tips on writing books. So that was really fun. This Thing Between Us, worse than bad. I did not enjoy this book at all. It's horror. It's just got way too much going on. It's not... just... I don't want to talk about it. Worse than bad. What is next? Haunting of Hill House. This was unmemorable. Don't even honestly remember it at all. I remember it's not that bad. It's unmemorable. Maze Runner. Good. I like Maze Runner. Maze Runner, there's a movie, haven't seen it. It's about, maybe I did, I started watching the movie and there was too many things right away that were different from the book that I just gave up. But maybe I'll check it out again. It's hard when you listen to a book and then you check out the movie and it's completely different and you want it to be similar. I'll give it another chance in the future. But the book was really good. The book, kids are stuck in a maze. Will they get out? We'll find out in the sequels. The Giver, great. Great book. I wish it was longer. It's a little short. Another classic book. Something to do with people don't see color. What is it even about? It's been a while, so I don't remember it super well, but I do remember thinking it was great. Hemlock Island, good, mid, good. I might be pretty generous with my rankings here. Mid. It's about this woman has a summer house on an island. It was given to her by her ex-husband. She rents it out to people, and weird things keep happening, and her renters keep reporting weird things happening. So she goes to investigate, and then she discovers weird things happening. I kind of enjoyed it, but it's kind of a little depresso. The main character is a little depresso. Death Cure. This is the second Maze Runner book. I enjoyed it. This is where you kind of learn more about the Maze Runner world. Bird Box. Good. There's a Netflix movie. It's also pretty similar to the book, which is great. Not really much else to say other than good. Scorch Trials. Maybe honestly mid. Not the best in the Maze Runner series. Honestly, just skip it. All books are books. Thank you, Jen Bowman. Garrett Stevens, any books you did not expect to be good that ended up being fantastic? Oh, maybe. But I probably went into all these books expecting to enjoy them, or at least hoping to enjoy them. But maybe The Giver I didn't have super high expectations for. But I thought it was great. Slumcore, hope you had a good Thanksgiving, Mr. Trousers. Bird Box was fun. Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays, everybody. Why Fish Don't Exist. This one was fun. I'm going to move it up to good. This one's a non-fiction book. It's about... what's his name? It's a guy who... he had a... I'm forgetting his name. He was associated with this college in San Francisco, I think. Okay, this is gonna bother me, so I'm gonna search. Oh, I didn't. Here, put this. We're looking at this. Why Fish Don't Exist. Putting it in the good tier. Leon, the first Harry Potter book is just good. Yeah. As I was saying when I put it here, I've seen the movies. It was very similar to the movies. Prisoner of Azkaban I enjoyed it more than the first two Harry Potter books. Why Fish Don't Exist. Where's my tab? Here we go. It's gonna bother me if I don't search it. Oh, this is... Why Fish Don't Exist is a dark and astonishing tale of love, chaos, scientific obsession, and possibly even murder. David Starr Jordan, a taxonomist. Yeah, so he's going around, he's looking at fish, he's taxonomizing them. But this book was a pretty good take on his story, and mentioned things like how he didn't discover a lot of the fish that he said he did. It was like Aboriginal, Native, Indigenous people who helped him a lot. Anyways, Stephen King, Misery. This is going way up in the great, maybe even in the top of the list. I've heard there is a movie. I want to watch it. I haven't watched it. Misery, I enjoyed a lot. It's about a writer who is kidnapped. He's got a broken leg or something. He can't move very well. And his kidnapper is like an obsessed fan. And she's like forcing him to write the next book in his series. Pretty fun. And now we're getting into a lot of nonfiction. Pretty soon, it's going to take over. Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. I thought it was pretty good. Maybe it's not the most well-written book, but I enjoyed it. I think it belongs in the good tier. What else do I have to say? It talks about her life story. If people don't know, she was kind of trapped in a contract. I forget what the term is. Her father was like somehow her caregiver into her 30s or something. Yeah. Really interesting stuff. And it talks about how she got out of it. I can't remember the term. Anyways, Viola Davis, Finding Me. This one's gonna go up in great. Why not? The first part of the book, it goes really in depth. Okay, first of all, I am not familiar with Viola Davis before this book. She's an actor. Anyways, the first part of the book goes into like her childhood. She tells her whole life story, which I really appreciate in an autobiography. Really fun stuff. It's a little bit pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but she kind of did that. There might be some controversial parts where she's talking down about her poor relatives, but I enjoyed the book. Garrett Stevens, The Term Conservatorship, that is what I was looking for. Yeah, Britney Spears battled with conservatorship for way too long. But yeah, her book's pretty interesting. I remember staying up late for the last Harry Potter book as a kid. There was a special offer in Germany where you get your book around midnight. Ooh, that's fun. Yeah, well, I stopped partway through the fourth one because I got a little burnt out on Harry Potter, but perhaps I should pick it up again. I've been on a nonfiction kick. I got kind of sick of fiction. I was listening to a lot of fiction books and just kind of like, wow, I'm listening to all this stuff that's not even real. But a lot of it's very fun, and I at some point I'll probably get burnt out on nonfiction and go back to fiction. But anyways, here we are deep into the nonfiction phase. What's next is Werner Herzog, The Twilight World. This one was really fun. I'm going to honestly put this up at the top. Twilight World is about this Japanese military person. Was he a commander? He was like a high-ranking military officer for the Japanese military, and he was stationed on some island in the Pacific, I want to say. Anyways, he kept defending this island, or he believed he was carrying out his duties for long after the war had ended, World War II. And he received a few notices that the war had ended, but he didn't believe it. He eventually was able to be convinced that the war ended, and anyway, it's just a really fascinating story about the true story. Really fun. Next up, 1984. George Orwell. I'm going to put it in good. It's got some boring parts, but overall, probably worth reading. I think probably everyone knows about 1984. Surveillance state. It was fun. Maybe it would have hit harder back in the day. A lot of things probably pretty accurate. Leanne Moriarty, Apples Never Fall. Good. Maybe it was kind of mid. Honestly, I did think it was kind of mid. What is it about? It's about this girl who shows up at the front door. Garrett Stevens. Dune was bad. Yeah, I'm not a big fan personally, but that's just me. I did enjoy the movies. Dune movies are awesome. The book, not for me. Back to Apples Never Fall. This woman shows up at a couple's front doorstep, and she's claiming to be in an abusive relationship, and they like take care of her for a while. pretty fun. Mid. I just didn't like it that much. It was okay. The Hobbit, going up. Oh, what was that? Did it just drop in? Good. I'm putting it at the top. Right along with the other Lord of the Rings movies. Books, I mean, maybe it's a little more for kids, but it was enjoyable. Everyone knows what The Hobbit is. What can I say? What more can I say? Tomorrow, 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 and tomorrow. Good. Good book. This was recommended to me by Becca. I enjoyed it. Do I remember that much about it? It's about people who are developing video games. It's a fiction book. I remember enjoying it. I don't remember it that much, gotta say. So I'm putting it in the good tier. Ooh, Tom Sawyer, pinnacle of literature. This was really fun. Tom Sawyer, he's a bit of a rascal. Well, everyone knows Tom Sawyer. Great book. Good stuff. Becoming by Michelle Obama. This was in my top 10 books ever, so it's got to go in the top of the list. What more can I say? Watch the top 10 books video, and I have more stuff to say about that book. Comedy, drama by Bob Odenkirk. This was fun. If you're not a fan of Bob Odenkirk or comedy in general, not going to be for you. But if you are, I gotta recommend the book. He does go very into details about like specific sketches and things he was involved in. I'm a fan of Bob Odenkirk, so I'm putting it in the great tier. But I could see why other people might not enjoy it that much, especially if they're not fans of his. Paul Newman, what's it called? Extraordinary Man on Extraordinary... I forget what it's called. It's Paul Newman's autobiography, memoir. It's awesome. It's not that memorable. I thought it was good. I think I enjoyed the end of it the most. I didn't know that much about Paul Newman besides the food brand. So the end is kind of where that comes in. But I was listening to nonfiction books and autobiographies, and this book came up, so yeah. I wanted to listen to a really long book, and it was really long. Michael Pollan, How to Change Your Mind. This book is about psychedelics. I'm going to put it in the great tier, not the top of the list, because it's a little bit self-important. But I feel like that kind of comes with the territory. When people talk about psychedelics, they kind of get a little bit of what do you call it? Superiority complex for some reason. I don't get that, but How to Change Your Mind has a lot of great information on psychedelics, and it was pretty enjoyable and informative. No more to say about that. Treasure Island, classic book, top of the list. People get abandoned or stuck on an island. What's the word? Shipwrecked, perhaps. Listened to it a while ago, so I don't really remember it that much, but I do remember some very specific things in the book that I enjoyed a lot, and I do remember mentally categorizing it as the pinnacle of literature. This book I listened to, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, is kind of about communicating with your partner or members of the opposite sex I would put it in good, but the version I listened to, I believe, was abridged, so it was missing a lot of the parts that the text version has. It was okay. Maybe I'll put it in mid. Here's the thing. I feel like I need another between good and mid. But it can stay there for now. Sounds like the perfect boomer book. It might. Maybe I'm a boomer. Yeah. Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby was great. I'm putting it not the pinnacle of literature, although I did enjoy it a lot. Everyone knows what it's about. A guy who has a lot of parties, but it follows a different character who gets invited to these parties. And yeah, not much to say about that book other than it was great. This book, Surviving Playboy by Crystal Hefner, this was a fun read. This was about Hugh Hefner's last wife before he died. So it was kind of about her life and being involved in the Playboy Mansion and Hugh Hefner's life. It was kind of like a story about surviving abuse and words are not coming to me this morning. But I really enjoyed her take and look into the world of the Playboy Mansion. It was quite intriguing and very eye-opening. She shed the light on her. What is it? It's kind of like Stockholm syndrome in a bit of kind of for her, I guess, is a good way to describe it. I enjoyed it. It was great. Grit. Angela Duckworth, Grit. Maybe I would honestly put this at the top. Another nonfiction book. It's kind of about grit, about determination, and I listened to some podcast about how when you do things you don't want to do, this specific part of your brain grows and gets stronger and you get better at doing things you don't want to do. And so this book is kind of all about that. Definitely recommend it. How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book I thought was going to be bad. I thought it was going to be really cringe. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I thought it was going to be kind of about, I don't know, manifesting. I thought it was going to be about like manipulating people. And maybe you could interpret it that way, but I just thought it was a book about like being nice to people or just like how to make your interactions with people be positive ones. So yeah, this is I've didn't know a lot about this book, but I heard the title like over and over. So I was kind of skeptical about it, but I decided to check it out just because of pure like saturation in my life. But I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was an enjoyable book. Wild by Cheryl Strayed. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's about a woman hiking the PCT. She does it after some traumatic event, I believe. I don't really remember what happened. Somebody died. She lost somebody. And she decided to hike the PCT with pretty much no experience hiking, which is a controversial thing to do. I enjoyed the book. A lot of people kind of hate her because she made it through hiking on the PCT a lot more popular with her book. And I guess, being underprepared. She got really lucky a few times. She could have definitely gotten hurt or gotten into a lot of trouble. But it was a good book. Fun read. I would not take it as like serious through hiking advice, but it was an enjoyable read. Barack Obama's book, I would put it in good. It did not have as much insight into the personal life of Barack Obama as Becoming did. I feel like Michelle Obama wrote more about Barack Obama's life than Barack Obama did. But yeah, what is it called? Promised Land. It's kind of just more about his presidency. I think there's supposed to be a sequel at some point. It was good. Not much to say about it. The Power of Habit. This is another nonfiction book. I would put it in the great tier. It's about how we form habits and how to form good ones, how to stop bad ones. Just basically, how it's about our brains and habits. And I thought it was really enjoyable and insightful. Definitely worth reading. Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. I read a few Malcolm Gladwell books, and the first one I liked, which made me want to listen to more. But when I listen to more, they're kind of all the same. So, yeah, I'm going to put all Malcolm Gladwell books in the mid tier because of that. They're all kind of the same. They all talk about similar themes, and I feel like he picks a thing and he provides like one. It's got, the word I'm looking for is confirmation bias. He picks like one study that confirms what he's talking about and decides that is the truth. That is, so yeah, I can't really recommend these books very much by Malcolm Gladwell. This one, oh, hold up. Tempestware. Have you read The Disaster Artist? No, I don't. I'm not sure I even was aware that's a book. I'll check that out. Disaster Artist. I like the movie. I like The Room a lot too. Back to the books. Cheryl Strayed, Tiny Beautiful Things. It was mid, honestly. Erling Panduro, what's up? Tiny Beautiful Things was about how Cheryl Strayed like wrote this column for, was it like an online magazine or newsletter, or maybe it was even like in a newspaper or a real magazine. I don't remember. People would write in asking for advice and she would give advice. I listened to it. That's about all I can say. It's kind of lame. Kamala Harris, The Truths We Hold. I'm gonna put it in good, I guess. She writes about her life. She doesn't write about as much as I would like, and it kind of ends abruptly because obviously her life's not over yet. She's not at the end of her career. Maybe I'll put it in mid. I did enjoy it, so actually it's going in good. And I learned more about her than I had known previously. What can I say? Check it out, I guess. The Spy and the Traitor. Top of the list. This was really fun. This is about a Cold War spy, and I mean that's really it. It's about a Cold War spy spying for Russia and how he's trying to escape Russia, I believe. It was a really good read. Dopamine Nation. Great. Going in the great tier. This book is all about how dopamine impacts our lives, how our brains respond and create dopamine. Basically, how dopamine controls everything we do. I don't know. It was really good. Again, I've listened to it a while ago, so I don't remember it super well. But I would definitely recommend it to people. Again, very insightful, eye-opening about some neurobiology. It was enjoyable. Here we go. I'm gonna speed run through these Malcolm Gladwell books, put them all in the mid tier, because honestly, they're kind of all about the same thing. And he's a little self-important, and he's not really providing the whole picture. I feel like he latches on to an idea and he claims it to be fact based on like one thing that confirms his bias, whatever. Think and Grow Rich. This is another book that I heard a lot about, and so I decided to check it out. This book, worse than bad. Worst book I've ever listened to. It was honestly kind of entertaining how bad it is. It is about manifesting, and it says some really funny things in the book that the author is not being sarcastic or ironic or anything. He says something like, men go bald because they're self-conscious and also because their hats are too tight. Women don't go bald because their hats are more loose-fitting. So men wear hats because they're self-conscious, and that makes them go bald. I don't know when this book was written. The author also does some weird thing where he has a kid who is born deaf, and he decides not to have them learn sign language so they can live a more normal life. Which I guess I saw in the reviews, some people were like, I'm deaf and I hate this guy. That's a horrible decision. Whatever. Honestly, if you want to laugh at how bad a book is, this might be the one. But it's worse than bad. What is this next book called? When You Are Engulfed in Flames by David Sedaris. I remember enjoying the book. What is it about? I think it's just kind of about random things, but David Sedaris is a good writer and it's enjoyable. It's kind of about just random stuff. Oh yeah, he kept journals and diaries about like every little thing, like what he wore, what he was feeling, random things he observed in the world. And I think he talks about them in this book. I think he's always talking about them in all his books, probably. This one was very fun, though. Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. This one was really fun. Honestly, I'm going to put it at the top of the list. Pinnacle of literature. If you don't know anything about Anthony Bourdain, I didn't know that much. I've never really watched his show. But this book's a lot of fun. He talks about working in kitchens. He talks about being a chef. He talks about his shows a little bit. It's just really fun the way he writes. It's a fun read. It's a good time. What is this next one called? The Fire Next Time. This one's about... What is it about? Human rights, abolition. It was good. I didn't enjoy it that much, but probably just because it's not for me. Definitely worth reading. Don't really have that much to say about it. The next one, Enough by Cassidy Hutchinson. I kind of want to put it at the top, but it's just not quite there. This one is about somebody who worked under the Trump administration in his first term, and it's kind of about like the events that led up to the January 6th event, and how she kind of writes about how she was a Trumper at first. Well, I mean, what's a better word? She was a supporter. She was a supporter of Trump, but then working for him and being close to him, she learned like the real side and the real evil of Donald Trump. And she writes about how I already said it, how the events that led up to January 6th happened, and it was good to get like an inside perspective on what happened, and I learned a few things that I didn't know about in regards to January 6th. Pretty fun. Unmasked: My Life Solving America's Cold Cases. This one was good. It jumps all around. It's about an investigator. Is he a private investigator? I think. Does he work for the police? I forget. He talks about cold cases. I think they're all murders. Kind of jumps around all to different cases. Some of them are more interesting than others. Good stuff. It was enjoyable. Don't have much else to say. David McCullough, The Wright Brothers, top of the list. Talked about it in my top 10 books video. It's worth checking out. These guys, they made airplanes. Were they the ones to invent the airplane? There's some debate on that, I guess. I wasn't aware of that. But it's a good read. What's next? Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. It's good. It's good. We're gonna put it in the good tier. I didn't know that much about Steve Martin. It made me want to watch more Steve Martin movies, that's for sure. I like his acting. He's funny. He's a funny guy. Don't have that much else to say. Red Notice. This was also one of my top 10 books. Really great stuff. Probably one of my favorite books of all time. Yeah, awesome book. This one, Frankenstein, top of the list. Wish it was longer. It's a little short for my taste. I like a book that's 8 hours or longer in audio form. I think this one was a little shorter. Oh, excuse me. But it was really fun. I did not realize or expect that it's kind of a twist on the creation story, the Adam and Eve story. It's kind of a twist on that. Like, what if you create this thing that hates you? Pretty fun. Definitely recommend it. So Many Steves, Afternoons with Steve Martin. This is another book about Steve Martin. What can I say? I just like Steve Martin. This was written by a friend of his, I believe, who interviews him a few times, and it's kind of talks about those interviews. So Many Steves. It was good. Don't have much to say about it, though. Drinking Game, Sarah Levy, putting that up in the good tier. This is about a woman who is an alcoholic and her journey to quitting alcohol, which I can relate to definitely struggled with alcohol in the past. Now I'm sober. I feel like she probably struggled a little more than I did. I think in my personal experience in my life, I just reached a point where I was like, this is not healthy. This is not good for me. So I quit, and I didn't really think too much about it in terms of like the social consequences, which I don't even consider to exist. And I think that's something she talks about in her book, how she expected there to be like this whole like social taboo for like not drinking, but then she discovered it's actually like not an issue at all. Yeah, I recommend it. Ooh, Codename Lease. Putting it at the top. This is about, what was she? She was like the most decorated military person in World War II. What? She was like a spy or something. Yeah. And she did a lot of awesome stuff. She won a lot of awards after the war. Don't really know what else to say about it, but I really enjoyed it. Just kind of burning through this list. Next up, we have The Missing Kennedy. This is about Rosemary Kennedy, which I didn't know about. She was born a little different than the other Kennedy kids. And I guess her parents, like, they wanted her to be more normal. She was a little slower than the other kids. She had like anger issues, and she started to become violent in her teen years or late teen years, which was causing issues socially. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but it is a true story. They ended up getting a lobotomy for her. And so that part of the book was horrifying, I have to say. The whole book was honestly very sad and horrifying. Just how like they treated her and reacted to her being different. And she got a lobotomy, and that is horrible. I can't believe that was a thing people used to do. Next up, The Birthday Party. This was in my top 10 books. Top of the list. It's about a guy who was kidnapped. Watch the top 10 books list. That's where I talk about it. I have more to say. A Serial Killer's Daughter. This is about... What's the title? The daughter of a serial killer. She didn't realize her dad was a serial killer. I guess like nobody did until he got arrested. I don't remember the guy's name. But it's a pretty interesting book. Excuse me. Yeah, she talks about like coping with that. It's good stuff. The Victorian Internet. I enjoy this book a lot. I'm a bit of a nerd. It's about, I think it's mostly about what's it called? Telegraph, Morse code, that kind of thing. All about how like the technologies before the internet connected people worldwide. It's really fun. It talks about technologies that I didn't even know ever existed, like visual telegraphs, which is like these, they had like these big elaborate buildings with like, or they're kind of like towers with different flags or like shutters on them, and you could like open or close the shutters, and the combinations of open and closed shutters meant different things, and these would be like on the hilltops. So I guess you would just like look to the hill, and if it said a specific thing, that would mean something. I don't really quite understand it because I was born in a world with internet existing, but it's pretty cool. You Are Not a Gadget. This is going in bad. I don't have anything to say about it. I just did not enjoy this book. Was it kind of self-important? Probably. I don't really remember a lot about it. What is this next book called? It is Uncanny Valley. It's fun. It's about a woman working in the tech industry and about her life and what it's like to be a woman working in the tech industry. It was alright. She doesn't really provide a lot of insight, honestly. It's just kind of about her life and things that happened. Analogia, putting it at the top. Again, this book, I feel like it sells itself as about technologies in the past, ways of communicating long distance before like any of other technologies were invented, but it actually ended up being a little bit more about like history and specific historical events. So that was honestly a pleasant surprise. Some of those things are about like Native Americans in the Southwest or Russian colonizers in the Northeast, or in the, say Southwest? Yeah, the Northwest. Russian colonizers in the Northwest, and how these people communicated long distance with like cannon fire or smoke signals. It's honestly, it's not that much about the communication methods. It's kind of more about specific historical things, which it was fun, and I enjoyed that a lot. Russell Baker, There's a Country in My Cellar. I just don't remember this book, and I don't think I enjoyed it that much. Not much to say about it. Skip. Deep Thinking by Gary Kasparov. I liked this book a lot. It's about... Bro, why didn't you at me? What's up, Jake? I'm doing my tier list here, and I'm getting towards the end. Now I have to start over. I'm going to just upload this as a video, probably. Deep Thinking by Gary Kasparov is about the guy who was the international chess champion at the time, and how about his chess games with computers, and specifically one called Deep Blue, which he lost against. Deep Blue's developed by IBM, and it kind of shed some light on the whole event and what happened. There was some foul play, but I like playing chess. I've been getting into chess lately. This was a really fun book. Good stuff. 6 Days in August. This is about a bank robbery sort of thing, where is this the one I'm thinking of? Yeah. He ends up taking some hostages, and they end up developing Stockholm Syndrome. This is like where the name Stockholm Syndrome comes from, because this happened in Stockholm. They became hostages, and they ended up like taking the side of the bank robber. It was good. I didn't think it was like pinnacle of literature, top of the list material, but I enjoyed it a lot. One that is pinnacle of literature, top of the list material, Raw Dog, The Naked Truth About Hot Dogs by Jamie Loftus. It's about hot dogs. I talked about it in my top 10 books video. It's kind of the hot dog program of books. She travels around the country, going to different hot dog shops, talking about the shops, the dogs. her personal life. It's kind of horny. It's good. The Secret History of Food. This one, I'll put it in the great tier. Not quite the top. What does it talk about? I mean, it talks about food. If you, I feel like it sheds a lot of light on like how nothing we eat is real or organic anymore, and like meat, how meat is processed, even like vegetables. Pretty much everything is fake. Blah blah blah. I mean, you should know this. Who killed Jane Stanford? Oh, I clicked something. I'm just moving it around now by accident. What did I like it that much? I thought it was good. I really enjoyed the beginning and the end. The middle kind of drags on, but I thought it was fun. It is about... It's a true story. Jane Stanford, the woman who made Stanford University, or whatever, she was murdered. She was poisoned. It's all about that. The beginning, like I said, the beginning and end are really good. The middle goes on to like a lot of her personal life, which I just didn't care about. Blink was an optional summer reading book for you once. That's interesting. Yeah, I put all the Malcolm Gladwell books in the middle because they're kind of all the same. And I said this earlier, he kind of like picks a thing and latches onto it and like finds one piece of evidence to support his opinion, and then he just acts like it's fact. Like he doesn't provide both sides. He doesn't provide much insight. Jake, I didn't read Blink, but I read the synopsis on the back, and that's what I wrote my essay on. They were interesting, but I gotta take it with a grain of salt, because he makes some pretty broad claims that are just like not super informed. Under the Banner of Heaven, this is about Mormons and the crimes that Mormons committed over time. I liked it a lot. I don't know a lot about Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or Mormonism or whatever, but this book was pretty interesting. I listened to it and I was like, how are so many people Mormons if these people did some horrible things? But then I was kind of like, well, there's outliers in every religion that do crazy, horrible stuff. So, they don't really define the religion as a whole. But Mormonism is specifically strange to me because of Joseph Smith. That's all I gotta say. Jake, I always get the giver and the giving tree confused. I understand that. Handprints on Hubble. This one was really fun. Putting it at the top of the list. It's about a woman who worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. It's about her life. It's about her journey working for NASA and going up in space, doing spacewalks, being an astronaut. Pretty cool stuff. Fire in Paradise. This is about what was the largest wildfire ever that happened in Paradise, California. Maybe there was even bigger ones now. I forget. This was like in 2018 or 2020. Anyways, the fire burned down the whole town. Some people died, and then people went into one person specifically went in to rescue dogs. It was interesting. It's about a fire. It's kind of an apocalyptic scenario. Um, so that was fun. And that wouldn't be fun to live through. Into the Wild by John Krakauer. This is about a guy who burns all his money and his social security card and just goes off into the wild. Does some hitchhiking around the country and eventually ends up in Alaska where he dies in the wilderness. There's a movie. It's good. I enjoyed it a lot. John Krakauer is a really good writer, and I read another one of his books after this, Into Thin Air, which I liked a lot, which I would put up here. But this is the first 100 books I listened to. So, let's go over the top of the list. Ready Player One, Dracula, World War Z, Lighthouse Witches, Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I put The Hobbit in there as well. Stephen King, Misery, Twilight World, Werner Herzog. This book is really cool. I like this book a lot. Tom Sawyer, Becoming Michelle Obama, Treasure Island, Grit, Spy and the Traitor, Kitchen Confidential, Wright Brothers, Red Notice, Frankenstein, Codename Lease, Birthday Party, Victorian Internet, Analogia, Deep Thinking, Raw Dog, Handprints on Hubble. And this is the rest of my list. Has anyone read any of these books? Has anyone listened to any of these books? Dune, horrible. I hated it. I didn't even finish it, honestly, if I'm going to be honest. I'm a hater. I'm being a big hater. That's my list. If you liked my list, let me know. I'm kind of tired right now. Title is clickbait. Yeah, it is. I listened to these books. I said this in my top 10 books video. When you finish a book by Recorded Books, it says, thank you for being a Recorded Books reader. So that just confirms for me that I did read these books. And there is only 100 books in the world, and this is all of them, and I just ranked them all. Anyways, that's it. That's all for this video, live stream. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll rank my next 100 books after I listen to 200 books total. Yeah. Stay tuned. Make sure to leave a like on the next video that you watch. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.